Welcome to Compensation Matters. In our previous episode, we explored the common challenges with sales territory and quotas and how they're costing you revenue. Today, we are back again with Omid Mehrzad, InnoVyne's managing partner, to explore some of the potential solutions and tools that can help you with a more effective sales planning.
Hi, Nilofar. Happy to be here with you and continue our series.
Thank you, Omid. Based on a study, 75% of sales leaders believe that their sales planning efforts are not optimized today. That means that from the beginning stage of configuring, like creating a coverage map, to designing territories and allocating quotas, to the monitoring and ongoing adjustments, there are some gaps within the system. One of the reasons could be that each of these steps are happening at a different platform and by different people. So there are a lot of solutions out there that promise to help with this issue, but how do you think our audience can find the best solution for their own business?
The right solution ultimately comes down to the organization's specific needs and their technology infrastructure. And you're right, there are specialized solutions out there designed specifically for the sales planning operation of an organization. But at InnoVyne, we've also seen clients really benefit from implementing specific functionalities in their integrated planning solutions. So, regardless of the technology platform, it comes down to a number of must have functionalities that really enable the planning process for the organization.
So, let's start with one of the common challenges that we discussed last time, the availability and the quality of data. This can lead to inaccurate territory design and quota allocation. What functionalities should an ideal sales planning solution have to help with this issue?
You're right. Data is a critical component to these applications. And here we're looking at a few things. So let's start with how do we get data into the platform? Data integration functionality is very much a required portion to automatically and securely extract data from databases, BI tools, SaaS applications, APIs, and the likes. And with access to your mission critical data, you help ensure that the planning decisions are based on a comprehensive view of the organization's operations. Next, we need the ability to transform and shape this data. Planning applications often rely on various past performance metrics to forecast future outcomes. And so data orchestration functionality, ETL or ELT type functionalities, are required to allow for historical data from various systems to be aggregated, combined, and ultimately analyzed together. For example, when we're talking about territory optimization functions, we often rely on metrics like last 12 months worth of sales, year-over-year growth, account penetration metrics, and other KPIs. And these are often generated from raw data. And lastly, needless to say, we also require automation functionality, which basically automates the flow of data into the planning applications, the processing and synthesizing of this data into the required data points, and pushing the metrics to your territories for analysis. This reduces the need for manual data entry or reconciliations. It replaces tedious Excel spreadsheets and ultimately speeds up the planning cycle. The benefit for the organization, planners have more time available at their hands to spend on higher value tasks such as strategy development. But there's one more point beyond this one, Elo. Accurate and up-to-date data also helps with meeting compliance needs for the organization. In this manner, an organization can really use this data and the insights from this data to prevent revenue disruption by implementing better safeguards that ensure operational stability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without data, we can't actually do any territory or quota planning, which this information really helps. These functionalities really help. But what about when we get to the planning phase? The sales plan is like a foundation that we can use to guide our sales reps' efforts. It can help us to incentivize them in the future and ultimately help us to reach our revenue goals. But the studies show that 54% of the sales plans, they're not finalized until after the fiscal year already has started. So how can this solution help us to provide our sales rep with a fair and balanced and on time plan so they can start their fiscal year with clear goals?
This comes down to a host of specialized functionality that supports and it speeds up the process of implementing, optimizing, and launching go-to-market strategies. So let's break down. At the core of it, we need functionality to create and organize your territories in a territory hierarchy, very much like an org chart, if you will. This is a visual representation of how territories are organized between child territories, their parents, and ultimately to the highest level for the organization. And remember, sales territories aren't always geographic regions like the traditional dates. In most cases, the organizations today segment their total addressable market across a common number of parameters. Uh, this does include geographic boundaries, but it can also include customer or account segments. It can include product types. It can include sales channels, industry verticals, and etc.
Mhm. Could you give us some example of that?
Um, sure, consider the following. You might have a company that divides its US market into Northeast, Midwest, South, and West sales territories. And so the reps in each territory manage their designated areas. But you can also have a company that really divides its market by industry verticals and key accounts. And so in this case, you might ultimately have one rep that handles all of your healthcare accounts. Another rep might handle all the technology accounts of the Northwest and so on and so forth. And so the layers aren't always geographic regions. Sometimes it requires further components. And from the planning solution, we really would want the ability to model a territory hierarchy and all its levels and layers in a form and function that is your sales organization. Um, but the territory hierarchy is just the start. So once you have the hierarchy and all its territory components, we need specialized functionality in these applications to optimize our territories. This is oftentimes called sizing your territories. Is a territory too small or too big? What's the potential of a territory? How many sales reps are required? And so this requires various intelligence functionalities that allows planners to really assess the territorial potential in further detail. We can talk about a few examples, perhaps. And so, on one part, um, we need functionality that really maps sales data to these territories. Oftentimes, these solutions allow us to configure territory definitions with business rules. And in turn, these business rules can be used to systematically map sales data to the respective territories. The solution ensures ultimately that the right metrics fall into the right buckets. That's a huge time saver for planning activities, allowing us to refresh data much faster, build better analytics, and it comes in really handy when we're evaluating different scenarios as well. Um, in addition to just core sales metrics, functionality is required to add or to apply other metrics to our territory. Customer density, likelihood of conversion in a particular region, not just on existing customers, but also what's the market opportunity and what are some market penetration metrics that we can apply on that territory. Um, Beyond that, there's oftentimes functionality required to perform aggregations or, as we call them, roll ups between the territories. So when our data is mapped to all the lower level territories, functionality should ultimately allow these metrics to funnel into the parent territories, allowing sales leaders and managers to evaluate the overall success of their territories, the organization, make informed decisions, and identify areas of improvement. We're not going to forget about currency conversion. That's a very critical functionality that's required when you have international operations. We need the ability to assign sales reps to territories, and oftentimes multiple sales reps with distinct weights to territories as well. And lastly, I would say the last functionality that I'm going to sort of speak to could relate to modeling requirements. Clients oftentimes have a need to evaluate different territory assignments and different territory sizing options for the organization such that they find the optimal scenario for their sales teams. There's quite a bit to this planning process, and then really it's these specialized functionalities that enable the planning process and help with modeling activities.
Yeah. So now that we know all these functionalities that can help us with planning our territory, what is out there that can help us with our quotas? How can we make sure they're competitive, but at the same time attainable?
When territories are sized correctly and you have metrics and insights regarding past sales, territory potential, you can in turn assign realistic targets that are fair and attainable to the sales reps, but also are aligned with the organization's bottom line. So whether your organization plans for quotas in a top-down manner or bottom-up, based on historical performance, or in some hybrid manner, the solution should provide workflow functionality to help allocate quotas from end users, set contingencies between the different levels and layers of your quotas, connect reps and sales leaders in their mission to review and approve these targets. Ultimately, this process and its transparency aligns the people and the organization.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really interesting. And we discussed some um, very important functionalities that can help streamline the planning process so far. But having the perfect territory or quota is not the end of the journey. Of course, the sales reps move, the businesses evolve, the market keeps changing. So we constantly need to monitor and adjust to make sure that all of our processes are still effective and aligned with our go-to-market. So how can these tools help us? What functionalities and capabilities the client should expect from them to monitor their go-to-market effectiveness?
The first step to this, in my opinion, would be to establish some KPIs that are aligned with the organization's goals. So, is it revenue growth that is being targeted? Is it customer acquisition costs that is being evaluated? Product penetration rates that is being monitored? Having these KPIs up front is going to be a very important one because it dictates to us what kind of data we want to go ahead and then help monitor. The planning solutions, on the other hand, they provide the monitoring tools such as dashboards and analytical reports to help monitor this progress and achievements. And when connected to real-time data, this really becomes an invaluable tool for planners and sales leaders to track key performance indicators and progress against goals in real time, identify trends and make informed decisions, visualize sales performance across regions and teams, and ultimately align their efforts.
Mm. So what if an organization needs to make adjustments in the middle of the planning cycle? Do we have any functionalities that can help with that?
Yes, well, we found that planning solutions enhance the governance structure of our client organizations. They add transparency to the organization that ultimately drives accountability to individuals and allows for a more unified approach towards planning and achieving goals. Effectively, this allows the organization to remain resilient and agile. And if changes are required, for example, you need to have the ability to scale territories up and down, inject further influence with marketing and or sales campaigns, or bring on board some industry experience. Uh, with a planning solution, the organization can go ahead and pinpoint areas that require immediate attention or optimization and make quick adjustments to strategies based upon data and insights.
Mhm. I read recently in one of those studies that effective sales planning can boost revenue by 5 to 7%. And I think what we've discussed today, all the functionalities that we covered, are essential to make territories and quota planning and management um, more efficient with minimal risk. And as a result, they can help us to execute our go to market faster and more effectively, and ultimately reach that revenue growth that is promised in these studies. So, thank you so much for sharing your insights. I found them really helpful, and I hope our audience can use this information to identify any gaps that they might have in their system, as well as being able to choose the right solution that serves their business the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilufar. And I'm happy to be here and do my part.
Thanks. To our audience, thank you for listening and joining our conversation today. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on LinkedIn to be the first to know about our next episodes. Thank you.